Could Velo hypothetically reach the price of $1 in 2025 this year? I think maybe. Even though that's not financial advice, I don't see why that scenario would surprise me whatsoever. It's because I've taken a look back in history, and I do know that usually altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, when did the last Bitcoin halving event happen? It happened back in April of last year. So 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year, 2025. So that's why I really do believe that sometime near the end of 2025, this could be something special here. Now, granted, is this a surefire date? Absolutely not. There's no exact way to tell, but I think if anything, it's a good benchmark because historically, this has pretty much been the case. And, it could always happen a bit sooner, which would be awesome, or maybe a little bit later, which is totally fine. I'll still be accumulating more. I'll still be dollar cost averaging. But again, I think it's a good benchmark. And I think that, again, 2025 could be a very special year. Take a look at Charles Hoskinson, for instance, who not only is the co-founder of Ethereum, but the founder of Cardano. Even he has a prediction that 2025 could be a very special year. Take a look at how on a video that he was a part of back in November of last year, he did say that a year to 2 years from then, he said that he could very well see Bitcoin reaching anywhere between $250,000 all the way up to $500,000. Again, if we assume his best case scenario timeline, so that's a year from November, so that's November this year, and worst case scenario price target for Bitcoin, $250,000. Let's say we assume, based off of this, right, Bitcoin were to reach $250,000 in November this year. Could you imagine what happens to something like Velo? Even at that point, the price of $1 may seem a little bit bearish. Now, that's just my opinion because we do usually know that typically when Bitcoin does very well, some altcoins do go along with the ride, and I don't see why Velo won't be one of them. Now, granted, Velo has been, having a pullback in the grand scheme of things, right? When we consider its most quote-unquote recent top. Still, even despite that, I do believe in this project because I think it's very amazing. I think it could be a big narrative. AI projects, meme coins, they're going to be a big narrative. But when I take a look at something like Velo, I don't see why not. Because keep in mind, Velo is a blockchain-enabled financial system and decentralized settlement network that is designed to quite essentially make the transfer value between one country to another more efficient. Now, to put this in simple terms, basically Velo is focused on something called cost-effective cross-border payments and as well as remittances. Now, why is this amazing? It's because if you take a look at, remittances, for instance, why is this something that needs a very efficient solution? It's because there's a lot of people out there working internationally. And just to give an example as to what a remittance is, let's say, for instance, I'm from a certain country and I'm working abroad, let's say, and when I'm working abroad, I send money back home to my home country. That right there is remittance. So the way you take a look at it is, of course, this is something, again, that is massive because even if we take a look at this globally, we'll see that according to Grandview Research, the global digital remittance market is expected to reach over $60 billion by 2030. So that's very impressive. Now, Velo, initially, they're very focused on the Southeast Asian region, which is a good idea, in my opinion, because you take a look at, according to BPB, back in 2020, so that's like ages ago at this point, pretty much 5 years ago, there was nearly 24 million Southeast Asians living outside their country of origin. So just imagine the remittance there. So Velo, they do have their sights in the right area, in my opinion. Not to mention, if you take a look at the payments market, that right there is currently valued at over $2 trillion. So yeah, Velo, they have their sights in the right area. Not to mention, you take a look at how when it comes to USDV, which is Velo's stablecoin, that right there is very massive as well because it has seen some good partnerships, I would say. For instance, you take a look at how when it comes to USDV again, right, we'll see that not too long ago, Velo had an involvement with BlackRock. And yes, I'm talking about BlackRock, like pretty much the real deal there. More specifically with their tokenized short-term treasury fund into their USDB stablecoin. So that's massive. Also, Velo, just generally speaking, they had a collaboration with the, Laos Bullion Bank to integrate gold into the blockchain. So that's really massive in my opinion. Now, let's not forget Velo has other aspects to it, like for instance, Quantum, which is a one-stop lightning speed remittance network. Also something called Universe, which is a multi-chain super decentralized exchange. There's also something called the Nova Chain, which is an affordable universal blockchain network. And even Orbit, which is a crypto super app. That's what they call it. It is what it is, I guess. You also take a look at Warp, which is a multi-network cross-chain bridge. So yeah, when I take a look at Velo, it's very fantastic, but you want to know where they take things to a whole nother level, and that is through something called CDFI. Now, CDFI, what that stands for is centralized decentralized finance. And the amazing thing about it is that this combines the good aspects of decentralized finance, and it combines that again with centralized finance, quite essentially having a hybrid. This is amazing because even if we take a look at the decentralized finance market, that right there is predicted to be worth over $200 billion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. So really, Velo doesn't miss when it comes to what they're focused on. They understand where a lot of the potential is at, and they're focused on that. Velo doesn't have the best adoption though, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the end-all be-all, because usually people nowadays, they care about the narrative, and the narrative is amazing here. They usually care about what something could be in the future, and I do hypothetically believe that Velo could be something very impressive in the future. And keep in mind, reaching the price of $1 isn't even that insane in my opinion. If it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $7.5 billion, which is around a 50x from here. A $7.5 billion market cap really is peanuts in my opinion in the grand scheme of things, especially for a project this fantastic, because just take into consideration, right? For instance, we take a look at Dogecoin. Back in 2021, reached over $80 billion in market cap. That year, Shiba Inu reached around $40 billion. Even XRP, as of right now, has a market cap that is around $150 billion. I mean, this is really peanuts. Just imagine as, April, May, June, July comes along, it could be a totally different story, which is why I'm still staying patient. And why would I not? When there's over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research, which is more than ever before in history, I'm going to stay patient. I'm going to sit still and just accumulate, because that's what I do. I view this as a marathon. It's not a sprint for me. I'm not going to be day trading or using leverage or swing trading. This is just not my style. It's not my vibe. It's not what I do. When I believe in a project, which I do believe in Velo, I just acquire, I hold, and I just wait. That's it. And the amazing thing about Velo is that it's this project that can pretty much be understood, in my opinion, in 5 to 7 minutes. Really. I mean, it's not even that difficult to understand what it's all about. Other projects out there, sometimes I look at them, I'm like, wow, this is way more complicated than it needs to be. It's really fantastic. Again, it's very simple, very clear to understand. It's not overly complicated. I think it's very fantastic, and that's why I'm very bullish on Velo. And again, reaching the price of $1 during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I think it's one of the best projects of all time, and it's just a waiting game. And reaching the price of $1 in 2025, more specifically, wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. Greatly appreciate it. It's Believe the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm a peace. Bye.